Hello young pirates and welcome to this week's writing challenge video. Before we start, you're going to need a few things. The first thing is you're going to need these sheets. They say week 4 at the top. One is a planning sheet and one is a splurging sheet. You're going to need a pen or a pencil. You're going to need a desk, somewhere to work. You're going to need a piece of fruit and a glass of water to keep you going. You're going to need 45 minutes on the clock and you're going to need your own brain. Get those things together. See you in a minute. Hello and welcome to this week's writing challenge video. My name is Andrew. If this is the first time you have joined us, where have you been? We've been having a great time. This video is going to give you something to write about this week that you're going to submit to us, and we're going to give you some feedback. At the moment, we are working on a project called London After Lockdown, and it's going to be a brilliant ebook that we're going to be publishing in a few weeks' time. This is the last project you're going to be doing with the Hackney Pirates, so this is the time to get on board if you haven't already. And we are in week 2 of a story writing adventure called The Lockdown Mystery. Part 2 of The Lockdown Mystery is what you're going to be writing in this week's writing challenge. Now, last week we wrote part 1 of your story. That is where we introduced a character, the setting, and we also had a problem come about and their decision to solve it. If you haven't written that one yet, no problem. Just go underneath this video. You'll see a link to be able to go and do that one. So don't worry, just go back and do it and then come back and do this one. So we ended part 1 with your character about to go and try and solve some sort of mystery. Now this week I'm going to do things slightly differently. I'm going to start by reading you my example so that you know what you're aiming for, and then we're going to talk about how you're going to plan and write yours. The only problem is the second part of a mystery story is where things get a bit more mysterious. It's just not feeling very mysterious in here. Give me a sec. That's better. Now, I can tell you where we're up to in the story. You may remember last week, Rani, who had just moved to London, had gone out of her flat to go after her cat, who had run over the road and gone into a mysterious old house opposite her block of flats. Now, in part 2, Rani's going to find out something about that house, and then there's going to be something very strange happen at the end, a bit of a twist. We're going to work on that in yours later. I'm also not going to tell you what this week's writing skill is. I'm going to ask you to listen to the story, read along, and see if you can see some of the things that I'm doing that might be this week's writing focus. Are you ready for the next creepy installment of The Lockdown Mystery? Rani ran down the stairs of her block of flats and onto the pavement. The road was empty, deserted. She zipped across the street and into the driveway of the house. Now that she was closer, she could see that it was candlelight that was flickering away inside. She stood there for a moment. "Bob," she called. Nothing. "Bob," she tried again. Nothing. Ahead of her, she could see the tiny gap in the window that her cat had gone through. Checking around her one more time, she walked towards it. She heaved herself up onto the opening and with a wriggle managed to squeeze through. She fell through the other side head first. Bump! Rubbing her head, she got up and looked around. Her mouth dropped. Wow! Rani was standing in the biggest hallway she had ever seen. She could have fitted a whole flat inside it and still had enough room to run around. A grand staircase ran up the wall towards a landing with more doors coming off of it. Lit candles sat in holders in their thousands. There was no one around, but just then something caught her eye. It was a tail, Bob's tail, darting into a tiny doorway under the stairs that she hadn't seen until now. "Bob!" Rani shouted. She ran to the tiny door, but when she got there it was shut again. Rani grabbed the tiny handle. She shook it. She shook it again. "I don't have time for this," she said. As if it had heard her, the door suddenly opened. Rani crawled into a dark tunnel. It was blacker than night. Just then, the door slammed behind her. The floor gave way. Rani fell at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Seconds later, Rani woke in her bedroom. The sunlight streaming in the window. Bob was dozing next to her, curled up in a ball. It had all been a dream, she thought. Just then, there was a knock at her door. "Come in, Mum," she called. It was only then she noticed that her walls were different. There was old-fashioned wallpaper on them, and her bed wasn't her bed, and her posters weren't on the walls. The door handle turned. It was about to get even stranger. Right, well, I don't know about you, but I'm a bit creeped out by my own story. So I'm going to turn all the lights back on and we're going to talk about how to plan and write yours. That's better. Okay, it's time to get planning. We've split your page into 3 different boxes. Beginning, problem, solution. Now I'm going to admit something to you. I really wish I hadn't written solution on that sheet. I crossed mine out and put outcome instead. You are welcome to do the same because this is the middle of the story. We don't want solutions. So, my apologies. Cross out solution, put outcome. The beginning of your part 2 needs to have your character moving on from their decision to go and solve the mystery. Maybe the beginning is about them getting to where the mystery needs solving, maybe going to the museum where something's been stolen, maybe following a clue that they've seen and they're going through the streets. The beginning of my part 2 was Rani going down the stairs over to the house and wriggling her way in. That's the beginning. We're now in the house. We can then encounter the next problem. On to the problem. Rani followed her cat into a door, couldn't get it open, opened it, then fell down a deep, mysterious space. Your problem might be that they can't get into the museum without breaking in or answering some sort of magic question. It could be that the place is guarded or that someone knew they were coming and has set a trap. And then the outcome. Now this is the tricky bit and it's going to be specific to your story and your story only. The outcome could be that they make it through all the traps that have been set for them and they're now into a room where they can see the thing that's been stolen. The outcome in mine is that actually when she fell down the hole, Rani woke up in her own room, but things weren't quite right. It could be that your character is taken prisoner by someone and then in part 3 they're going to have to find their way out of there. I'm going to say take 20 minutes to plan today. You might want to get up and walk around. You might want to start this, do 5 minutes and think, do you know what? I'm going to finish this off a bit later when I've had a good think. Sometimes not thinking about your story is the best way to think about your story. Suddenly you'll be washing the dishes or you'll be going for a walk outside and you'll go, oh yeah, that's what's going to happen. So 20 minutes on the clock this week. Have a good plan. Well done, I hope you had a good plan and that you've got lots of ideas down in front of you. Now, did you spot this week's writing skill in my example? Don't worry if you didn't, but well done if you managed to spot that this week we are doing shorter and longer sentences for effect. Especially when you're trying to build up a bit of tension, a bit of mystery, it can be really effective to suddenly shorten your sentence. Rani ran down the stairs of her block of flats and onto the pavement. The road was empty, deserted. Make a game out of it while you're writing. Give yourself 1 point for a 3-word sentence, 2 points for a 2-word sentence, and 3 points for a 1-word sentence. And remember, only use them after longer sentences. Don't just use short sentences all the way through. So that's your writing skill to try this time. I'm going to ask you to take 25 minutes to splurge, pick up a favourite pen, take your time, and have a really good splurge. Well done. Hopefully you've got an excellent story in front of you. I cannot wait to read them when you submit them. Either take a photo of your writing or type it in to our website, send it to us, and we look forward to giving you some feedback. Well done to everybody who's taken part in this story so far. Their names are about to go past the screen. You know the drill by now. Put your hands together, give them a clap. Next week we're going to be concluding our story. So as you're going around this week, maybe you're on a cycle ride, maybe you're on a walk, maybe you are tidying your room, make sure you keep your room tidy, have a think about how your story is going to end. I'll be doing the same about my story with Rani, so until next time, stay safe, be good, bye!
You get praise, you get love from everyone you know. See.